7.38 is finally here and it did not disappoint. We have a new map along with new neutral camps and everyone is wondering, what are the optimal farming patterns? Where should I be farming? What the fuck is this ancient camp next to my lane? What are those? Fear not, in this video I will be going over the best farming patterns that offer you the best numbers in terms of experience and gold. I will be comparing the new farming patterns with the older ones, explaining how the new creeps work and how to navigate this new map. And I will be using the examples of pros such as Yatoro, Satanic, and Arteezy to show the optimal farming patterns. Right now, no one really knows how to farm properly, so if you want to get ahead of the curve, watch this entire video. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the map changes and how the new flooded neutral camps evolve over time. Don't worry, I'm not going to go over Tormentors, Roche, or whatever other useless shit, only things that impact farming. It is very important to know these numbers so you can have a better idea of where to farm in different situations. First and foremost, the outer jungle now has an ancient camp instead of the medium camp near the tier 1 tower. Previously, you had 5 neutral camps consisting of 2 large, 2 medium, and a 1 small camp. Now you have only 4 camps, 1 ancient, 1 large, 1 small, and 1 medium. The inner jungle has the same amount of camps as before, but now you have a medium camp instead of a large camp near the tier 2 tower. With that said, there is a twist here. The new neutral camps, also called the flooded camps, evolve every 5 minutes. The indication of the flooded camps is that they're literally inside the water, which is hard to overlook. Every 5 minutes, one of the creeps in these neutral camps will forever upgrade to the next tier. For example, every 5 minutes, a small camp creep will evolve into a medium camp creep will evolve into a large camp creep, and a large camp creep will evolve into an ancient creep. After 15 minutes, the small camp will fully evolve into a medium camp, and the medium camps will evolve into hard camps, and after 30 minutes, the medium camp will evolve into a hard camp, and the hard camps will evolve into an ancient camp. It seems that these camps are kinda bugged because they sometimes don't spawn with the upgraded version if killed. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you can tell me in the comments what the actual deal is. Each camp can only be upgraded twice, so a small camp can never become an ancient camp. With that said, because of these variations, you will see an increase in gold and experience based on the timer of the game on these camps. Keeping these averages in mind for normal camps and flooded camps, in 7.37, the outer jungle gave us 420 gold and 665 XP in total, while currently in 7.38, it gives us 399 gold and 690 XP on average. The 7.38 numbers are without any increase that happens every 5 minutes. In 7.37, the inner jungle gave us 520 gold and 825 XP in total, while currently in 7.38, it gives us 501 gold and 791 XP. Again, the 7.38 numbers are without any increase that happens every 5 minutes. These are just base numbers. The table on screen shows how the numbers increase every 5 minutes. You can see an increase of 21 gold and 25 XP every 5 minutes for the outer jungle, and an increase of 12 gold and 13 XP for the inner jungle. Now compared with 7.37, you can see that the outer jungle in 7.38 is better after minute 5, so it's definitely a buff. With time, both the outer and inner jungles become much better than they were in 7.37, so overall a buff to normal farmers and a nerf to minute 1 junglers. With that said, the inner jungle is much better than the outer jungle, but farming isn't just about gold numbers. When it comes to farming patterns, the most important thing is safety. Solely off the layout of the map, the inner jungle is less safe than the outer jungle. Efficiency is another thing when it comes to farming patterns. You want to be able to get the maximum amount of gold without dying, which means that you need creep waves in your farming patterns as they give you the most amount of gold. With that said, farming neutral camps is only good if it's close to the lane so that you can also farm creep waves. It is safe to say that the furthest camps in the inner and outer jungles will most likely not be touched in a good farming pattern because they are too far from the lane. In terms of gold and experience in total, if you farm 3 camps in the outer jungle and 4 camps in the inner jungle, this is what you will get. This alone tells you that the outer jungle is much better than the inner jungle because the gold difference isn't that much, and you will get more XP along with more safety. If you apply the same logic in the triangle area, you will not be farming these camps because they are far from the lane, so all in all, the maximum amount of gold you can get there is 424 gold if you farm 2 large, 1 small, and 1 ancient camp. You can also get the enemy ancient camp on top of this, but safety is a big concern. If you do manage to get that as well, you will get 588 gold. Keep in mind these numbers are without creep waves, just purely neutral camps. With that said, the best farming patterns are those that are constantly adjusted based on the information on the map, and a good balance between the outer and inner jungle will allow you to farm 800 gold per minute. We shall see these ideal patterns in the examples of the pro players to get a better idea. Based on these patterns, I will also tell you which is the most optimal farming pattern and certain rules to follow to make sure you farm faster than everyone else. If you feel like this is not enough, you can always hire me as your coach and let me simplify everything for you. Before we get into the first example, the biggest thing is the ancient camp next to the tier 1 tower. It is a buff and a nerf depending upon the game. Previously, you could just retreat back to the medium and small camps if you felt pressured and easily farm them, but now if your hero isn't good at farming ancients, you are cooked. For example, a hero like Anti-Mage is not farming ancient camps whatsoever until he gets his Battle Fury. So unless you are able to stay in lane and farm the large camp, it is a nerf for him. With that said, you need to either pick a strong laner that doesn't get pressured out of the large camp in the lane, or you need to pick a hero that can farm ancient if it comes to it. For example, you can pick a strong laner like Lifestealer, Dragon Knight, and PA. Some heroes can do both, some can only do one. Lifestealer isn't good at farming ancient, but he's good at staying in the lane. DK can do both with his level 6. Heroes like Magnus and Sven, even if they're pressured away from the lane, they can still farm ancients quite easily. Now let's see the first example, and it's going to be Satanic on Phantom Assassin. He's going to respawn right now because he died to the slaughter. He pushes the wave in, and now when he sees the next wave, it's just like, okay, it's further in. Clockwork is also here, and he already died to slaughter, so he goes back in here and farms the ancient camp. Now this is what I mean. Now imagine if you're playing something like an anti-mage. What would you do? Right? You can't go here, and your hero can't farm ancient, so you're like kind of cooked. The only thing that you can do is farm the small camp, but since this guy is able to farm the ancients, it's very good. Right? Now he farms this here again. He sees information at the mid lane. Now he's allowed to go to the lane. He sees every hero at mid. So he's fine doing what he's doing. He goes to his tower, farms the wave. He's probably going to farm further in. He farms a large camp, probably the next wave as well, because he still has a lot of information. He gets this, and now he's going back here again, right? Based on the timer, he's back here again because his hero is capable of farming ancients every minute, right? So he's going to try to farm this or stack this. He's going to farm this, and he gets rooted, so he cannot stack this. But you get the idea, right? And after this, the wave is super far in again. He doesn't see anyone. So what he's going to do is probably farm the small camp. He's going to farm the small camp, and then the medium camp. And then he still doesn't have information. He's still scared to approach this lane. So he's going to farm further in, right? He's going to get the medium camp now, then the next medium camp, and then eventually small camp again. And now when he sees information that Slaughter is also bot lane, he's going to go and farm the wave. Right, but after this, he scans the outpost, not the outpost, the gate. If you look at this detail on the side, he sees that, okay, Slaughter is still bot, but he feels like, okay, I can't go near the tower because they can TP and kill him. But look at the timer again. He's back to the ancients. He's going to stack this, most likely. He stacks this, farm the small camp. He cannot farm the stack because his hero isn't strong enough until he gets a Battle Fury. So he's probably going to farm his Battle Fury. But the thing that I want you to focus on is that he's constantly playing in the outer jungle. He's going to push this wave in because he has information again. And then he goes back. Like, he could have been here, guys. Look at this. After farming this wave, he has 20 seconds. He could have been here farming this large camp or this small camp, but he goes back and farms the ancients. Very crucial to do this every minute, right? He farms the ancient stack and then farms it again. Every minute he makes sure that he farms the ancients. And naturally, because of this ancient, he has to farm the outer jungle because it's just better, right? Because also the creeps are evolving. So he farms the ancients, small camp, then the medium camp, and then goes back in here again. But now he goes back. Why does he go back? He sees that Terrorblade is aggressively pushing this lane. Everyone else is missing. So that means that they're probably playing for this tower. So if he goes inside here, he could probably die. As we discussed, the inner jungle is less safer than the outer jungle. So that's why he cannot go there at this very moment. So he adjusts his farming pattern based on that, and then he farms the outer jungle again. Now he's going to keep doing this until he feels safe enough to approach the lane, right? So he's farming here, he's chilling. Then eventually he sees information, Slaughter here. He's going to go back to the wave after farming the ancient camp. He farms the ancient camp, back to the wave. And now it's just like, he's going to go here because there's no ancient camps. After this small camp, he could have went here. He could have went here. He could have been farming any of these places, but he goes back to the ancients yet again. Farms the ancients, farms a small camp, farms a medium camp, and then he sees a fight at mid. So he TPs to the fight at mid, which is whatever. And now, like, the biggest detail that we want to talk about is why is he not farming the triangle, right? Usually you want to go to the triangle and you want to farm that place. But why is he not doing that? Actually, let's see whether he goes to the ancients or not. So he takes this tower and then he goes back towards top. So if you notice that, he's not farming triangle at all. Why? Because Brood is already there. Even if he goes to the triangle, Brood is not playing backwards here. So he can probably get the ancients here, and this camp here, and these camps here, but he cannot farm the waves, he cannot farm further in, so he's not going to get much out of farming at bot lane. So he's making sure that he farms at a place where he gets the most, which I am going to show you. So he farms here, he goes for the medium camp, farms the wave, probably going to farm the next wave as well. And then right after this, what is he going to do? Ancients, again, right? So I just want you to focus on the net worth chart right now. He's at 11.4k, right? He's going to farm the ancients, small camp, medium camp again. I want you to remember what his net worth was when he went to the ancients. 11.4, right? He has already farmed 600 gold, right? And now he goes here, and now he goes here. So he farmed 1,000 gold. In a minute, he farmed 1,000 gold doing this farming pattern. So this, in my opinion, is the most optimal farming pattern, except for, of course, maybe going to the ancients here, which is very hard to do, right? So this is like the best example that I can show you. He's constantly playing in the outer jungle, starting at the ancients, farming the small camp, farming the medium camp, and then going to the inner jungle, farming the small camp, farming the medium camp, and then farming another medium camp, right? He's constantly repeating this, and he's farming like 1k gold every minute, which is insane. So based on this example, you could say that the outer jungle is clearly very buffed, and the numbers that we talked about before looking at this example, they're very, very much matching with what Satanic is doing. He's also preferring the same patterns that we talked about. So this is ideally what you want to follow. Now let's look at more examples. Here's another example with Satanic's Magnus. He does not have a TP, he just respawned. So he's probably going to start farming from the outer jungle, which is what he's doing. Also farming this is very good because the creep is evolved. Now he farms here and then stack ancient. Important, very important. If your hero can farm ancients, you have to stack. And then use empower, farm the ancients, very good. Lane is super far pushed in, similar to the last example that we saw. He's clearly just farming the outer jungle. And then inside goes here. Because, like we discussed, you don't want to be here or on this camp. Why? Because then you'll be really far away from the lane. You don't want to be far away from the lane. That is like the ideal case. But this is like very similar to what we saw before. Now let's see Arteezy's example on Sven. Look at the timer, stack the ancients, boom. Stack the ancients, farm the ancients. Gotta make sure that if your hero can farm ancients, keep doing the wave is super far pushed in. What do you want to do? Farm the small camp. Make sure that you're not putting yourself in a dangerous position. And now when he sees this, he's like, okay, we see multiple heroes here. We see multiple heroes here. He goes to the closest small camp rather than this one because the lane is going to push into him eventually and he wants to farm that. And of course, he has information as well. When he sees that everyone is here, he goes and farms the wave, farms the next wave as well. And when he sees more information here, I would like to see him go to the large camp. Does he do that? He does that because he has information. So he's no longer pressured. And here it's just like, okay, he's going to go here again. And back to the ancients. Look at the timer. Back to the ancients. Farm the ancients. Push the wave in. He sees information on the other side of the map. Farm the large camp. Farm the small camp. And now it's just like he's going to go back. Where? He does not go to the ancients here. He sees a lot of information here, but he's not going to the ancients. I would probably stack this because I think it's worth it. But what I see Arteezy doing is that he's making sure that he pressures this lane. He pressures this lane when all of this shit is happening. So he's going to pressure this lane more, hit the tower, and that's what he's preferring. But personally, I think Satanic has a better idea. But this is also pretty decent. But the idea is that ancients is what it's about. Literally every replay that we're seeing, every example that we're seeing, it's all about the ancient camp. Now let's see Yatoro's example on Tiny. He's being forced out of the lane because there's a lot of heroes. So he's going to go back, farm the small camp because he cannot farm the ancient. This is what I talked about. Some other hero could probably farm ancients here, but with Tiny he can't do that because he has no HP. So what he's doing is that he's basically chilling. This is an example of where he has to be out of the lane. Stacks this, gonna farm the lane, gonna farm the next wave as well, and then probably go further in because he has information. Waves are like king, farms the wave again, and then back to the outer jungle. Gotta farm the outer jungle, boys. Outer jungle is where it's at. He goes here. He cannot farm ancients, so he's just like not trying to farm them at all. But look at this. This is like very interesting. So when he farms, like basically after farming this, he goes to this small camp, right? And after this small camp, he has information. Dragon Knight is here. More heroes are here. And Jakiro is probably solo here. He also sees Marcy, which means that they're making no moves at top. So he plays further in. He goes further in, similar to what Arteezy was doing. Ignore the ancients and then do something better on the map. Better as in this case is pressuring the lane and farming the wave. Waves are going to give you more gold than the ancients. You haven't seen this guy hit the ancients yet because he can't. Now eventually he sees more information, so he farms the next wave as well. Instantly goes back, farms a large camp because he has information that the enemy is nowhere close. Farms a small camp. And now is he going to stack ancients? He's going to stack ancients. He could have went here, guys, and farmed this, but he goes back to the ancients because ancients are just better. Now he stacks this, farms the ancients again, farms a small camp, and going deeper here. DK is just going to feed, I guess. Farms the wave again, back to the outer jungle. Outer jungle is very important, guys. Every example we see, we just see outer jungle being implemented a lot. Here's another example of Yatoro on the ancient farming pattern. He's gonna respawn, he's gonna farm ancients, farms large camp, farms ancients, because no one is playing here if you notice. His entire team is top, which means that he has this area to farm for himself. But let's see what he farms. Like, he's not going here because he's scared, which means that he's farming slower than he would be farming upside here. Like on his safe lane, he would be farming faster because he has more camps and it's easier to farm there. So he's gonna go back here to these new camps, which is like whatever. I don't really like this because if you're all the way back here, then you can't really farm more. So he gets the Wisdom Rune as well. Excuse me, Shrine of Wisdom, not Wisdom Rune. And now he's just like farming the same pattern, like ancients, large camp, push out the wave from mid, nice, get this kill, push out mid wave again, and now he's gonna go to the bot wave probably. Farm this ancient camp before it respawns, very good. Stack both camps, farm the wave, farm the next wave again, so his team's nearby. He goes all the way back here. Like, I don't like this farming pattern personally because he's not farming a lot. He would be farming much more on the top side. He's gonna farm this again. Minute has respawned. Now he's gonna look at the wave. Now this is where it's at. If you look at this, he started at the ancients, farmed the large camp, sees all of the enemy heroes at top, so he's gonna push this wave in. Now he's allowed to go further in. He's gonna farm the large camp. He's gonna farm this as well, and now he can go to this ancient camp. If you can manage to farm this ancient camp, then this farming pattern is really good. But it's quite dangerous because every time you're going to go to this ancient camp, you're always going to show to the enemy. Like, an example that I can show you is that when Yatoro is going to show on this wave from the Radiant perspective, he sees this, and now it's very obvious that he's going to go for the ancients, right? So in a good game, people are going to like punish you. So they're at the gates, so they could gate. But other than that, there's no other way to like kill him. So he goes for the ancients and then instantly March TPs or like gates, and then he has to go back. So this is what my problem with the ancient farming pattern is. I don't think it's good unless you farm this. And for you to farm this, you need to make sure you don't die here. And it's really hard to die here, honestly. If I think about it, there's no outpost here where they can TP. The only place they can come from is from their tower or the gates. And if you're a mobile hero like anti-mage or whatever, I think you can take a lot of advantage of this. And especially if you play in lower brackets where people won't punish you, I think this gives you the most amount of gold out of anything. Basically, this ancient camp, large camp, medium, wave, ancient, another wave, this will give you the most amount of gold. Even more than what you can farm here. Keeping these examples in mind, now I will tell you which is the best farming pattern. In terms of gold, experience, and a decent amount of safety, if you can do this farming pattern on the triangle side, you will get the most amount of gold. But as we saw in the Yatoro example, it's hard to do that because it's not too safe. But keeping in mind that there's no outpost near that area anymore, so you can get away with it with a hero like Anti-Mage who is mobile. And let's face it, the brackets most of you are in, no one is going to punish you that much. This pattern will give you 2 ancient camps, 2 large and 1 small, resulting in 588 gold. If you add creep waves to this, you will farm more than 800 gold per minute. The second best option, which in my opinion is the best option for high rank players, is the mix of the outer and inner jungle. You start at the ancients and you end at the medium camp in the inner jungle. You will end up with 526 gold without any creep waves. With creep waves, you can get more than 800 gold per minute easily. This is a pattern that we saw both Yatoro and Satanic use a lot. With that said, now let's talk about some rules to follow. Number 1. Pick a hero that can farm ancients or is a strong laner. The most ideal case would be to pick something that can do both. Number 2. Always make sure to farm or stack the ancient camp every minute once you are capable of farming it. The only time you would not do this is if you have something better to do, and that is farming creep waves as we saw in the Arteezy and Yatoro examples. Number 3. Adjust your farming patterns based on the information that you have. Don't mindlessly follow these patterns. Number 4. Only go to the triangle if you feel like no one else is farming there and your safe lane side is restricted because the enemy is playing there. Otherwise, there is no reason to leave that area. We saw in the Satanic P example how he never went to farm the triangle a single time because he cannot farm creep waves there since Brood is already farming there. Be smart about how you divide the map. Number 5, lastly, the furthest most camp on the map are the safest camps. You should only farm them if you get locked out of the map, otherwise you will miss out on a lot of farm. Safety is king. It's better to farm 400 gold per minute rather than getting killed trying to get that juicy 800 gold per minute. That said, folks, if you're stuck in a rut and want to really improve in Dota, I offer coaching packages that will help you improve significantly as they have for other students. If you're interested, you can either join my Discord, which is linked in the description, or visit my website at PainDota.com. Other than that, do check out Dota Academy if you're looking to join a Dota-related community that offers insane value for the price. This and other topics related to the patch have already been discussed there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.